Thank you guys for being here. I'm Gwendolyn Jackson. My company is LMG Productions. I know I look a little different. Dread's gone, all gone now. But I am really, really excited to have this opportunity to do this. This is, marketing for me is a part of my life because studied in college, worked in the corporate world for a long time, and now doing this with other families and other people who have businesses. It's always been really important to me to be able to share the information that I've received so that I can give it to other people. And I'm very excited about being able to do this. So I know it's a small group, but I want to, definitely make sure I respond to your time and respectful of your time because I know there's a lot of great speakers that are a part of this today. So I wanted to go ahead and get started. So I wrote this core marketing program about 10 years ago. And it came to me that there are different layers of being able to talk to your audience. And so I started thinking about who are people and how do we talk to them. And that was the reason why I started saying, okay, if you get to the core of who these people are, you have a better chance of tailoring a message that will resonate with them. And so that was the reason why I started coming up with this program and then looking at the different layers, because we do have layers. And I know that there are a lot of other people who are presenting marketing. But for me, it's more than just a story. It's more than just looking at, the product as an individual, is an entity. It's also about knowing who your audience is and being respectful of who they are, and also looking at who they are and how you're going to reach them. And so when I started thinking about knowing who the audience is, because I remember lots of times talking to people and I say, well, who do you want to write this book for? Or who are you making this product for? And people will say, oh, I want everybody. I got everybody. I want everybody to read it. But we always know that there's no way for everyone to get it, especially in the first time that you look at it or the first time someone sees something. There's no way for everyone to get it. So the first thing that I um, came to my mind was, how do I get across this in a way that everybody would understand it? And so I call it the one bullet philosophy. Think about it: if you were in front of a group of people, whether they were hostile or whatever, but you wanted to be able to affect those people with that one bullet. How would you affect these people, whether it was 10 or it was 110? How would you be able to affect them? And so the one bullet gives you the opportunity to think about more succinctly about what you're going to say to that audience, and also you think about, if I affect one person, how can it affect other persons? So that's what your one bullet is. You're going to try to be as strategic as possible about who you're going to use that first bullet with. And that way you will hope that it will help it will help affect the others. And then secondly, do you have a good message? SOB, and that's a statement of belief. A statement of belief means that you understand what you're trying to convey to your audience, and you've decided that statement has a best way of telling people what your product is, who you are, what you hope to gain, how you want to approach them being a part of what you're doing. So your SOB is really important. And you could think about some people who have really strong SOBs, and I always think about McDonald's. When people think about McDonald's, you just you see the golden arches and all that, and their first SOB was over 1 million hamburgers sold. And what does that say to you when you're thinking about your SOB? That says that we must be doing something right if we've sold 1 million of them. And they also tell you what their specialty is, which is hamburgers. So think about your SOB when you're putting together your whole format. And then as you're developing that and you're being strategic about all of the messaging, you also want to think about who are those audiences that I can reach and how do I reach every single audience. For me, I feel like there are three specific core audiences. And I say core meaning just like the core of your body, it's the strength. It's the core of an apple. It is where all the good stuff is, the apple seeds, which help to grow. So all of that is an analogy for why I called it the core, because it's so important to understand who those people are. And I've identified three that I think are really important. And then lastly, when you're thinking about your audience, you have to appreciate the support of your supporters. And that sounds kind of redundant and weird, right? But what it means is that when someone is supporting you, you have to listen to them. Because if you don't listen, you might miss them giving you some little tidbit or caveat or something that they wanted that could change your business for the better. Now, of course, you can't go around listening to every single thing that every single person says, because you would be going crazy. But it's important to stop and listen and then adapt to in order to be able to um, funnel the information about your product to them and then be able to make the best of it for how you're going to sell to them. Because, see, for me, marketing is about longevity. I know a lot of people say, oh, if we could just have this great, party and launch party, we use these words that are sort of buzzwords and, in social media and you put it out there. But I look at building from a foundation where every level of the business is ramping up and we're able to create something at every level. When you start that business, you don't have to look at it like you got to make the first $1 million in the first day. Look at how's that business going to be in 5 years, 10 years. And so you have to, for me, building a great foundation is where I'm coming from. So that's why I look at it like they're different cores. So who's in that first core? Well, of course, it's your mama and your daddy and your friends and your colleagues and those people. And I call the mama names. The people who know you best, the people who supported you throughout. They've come to little league games. They've come to recitals. They've, supported you when you were selling candy out of a box. All of those different things they've done and they're there for you. And even if you don't think that they'll be there for you, because a lot of people say, well, my family doesn't understand what I'll do, it doesn't matter. Make them feel guilty about it. Because guess what? Their kids come to you. My husband talks about all the time how at work, he'll have his friends, his colleagues will come along with their kids, sheets for brownies. And, I think right now this is wrapping paper season and other things. And because our kids are older, we don't necessarily get to impose that on them. But use the guilt treatment. I got a new book. I need for all of y'all to be buying my new book. I need for you to be buying my new service. I need for you to be telling people about it. All of those things are really, for you to exploit and to get out there and get the message. Because guess what? This is your easiest group to reach. This is where you really lay the foundation. And every you do that, you're setting yourself up for how you can build your company to the next level. Because guess what? You've gotten these people to talk about it, to read it, to give you advice, to do all those different things. And then now all you got to do is say thank you. Thank you for believing in what I have. And then thank you also goes a long way because you're not going to take advantage of the fact that they are your friends and family. Because if you do that, they could be soured on whatever it is you're working on. But if you say thank you, then guess what? They're right there with you through it. So every ramp up, every change, every idea, every product, every service, they're right there with you. So don't be, um, I guess, don't be shy in saying thank you to them, even though they are your friends, because they can become your strongest allies, their biggest cheering squad. I cannot tell you when I've been to so many launches, I've been to product launches, I've been to film premieres and all those kind of things, even in graduations. Everybody wants somebody cheering for 'em. And so having a cheering squad, some people who believe in your product, people who understand what you've gone through to get that product there, people who will expect you to do well because they know who you are. And those are the people who you want to create a good foundation with. Because guess what? The next group of people that you're going to try to get to, the second core, that's going to be a little bit harder. And you think, well, why is that harder? It's harder because most of the time with our second core, in the second core, these are people who we might not necessarily know, directly. No longer friends and family and colleagues. So we don't have a direct um, connection to them, because you want your connections also to be very fluid. You want it to be um, natural. You don't want it to be, fake. Because in this world now we have like social media where people can, buy people to know who know them, and or by their followers and stuff like that. That's not a realistic way of building a foundation, because when you look at that and you say, oh, you got 30K followers now, but every time you post something, the most posts that you receive are in the hundreds. To me, or at most 1,000. To me, that means you aren't building a real foundation and those people don't know you. So when you're looking at that second core of folks, those are people who might know the subject matter, but may not know you. And a good example of that would be I just published a book for a young lady. Um, the first we did great. The first year we had all kinds of book signings, and her family and her friends and her colleagues all came out. But now we're in that second tier of letting people know about it who are parents, because our book is a parenting book, who are parents, new parents, old parents, whatever, who are interested in the subject, but they don't know her. So now we've got to find a way to bridge the gap and figure out how to reach that group. How do we tell this group that what I'm talking about is important to them? What I have to say means something. And more than that is, am I a credible person to be given this information? Um, I there are lots of folks that are out there that do all sorts of things, and they decide, okay, I've done something successfully once, so that makes me now a expert or somebody in that field, and that could work in certain cases. But I always attribute that back to, if you were a brain surgeon, and you just started doing that, people are gonna question what you're doing if you're just the first in something, or you've done 1,000 times. So think about that when you're putting your best foot forward. Are you in an arena where you show being your best, you have the most experience, and you're telling people who you are in that arena, and you're not outside of there where you're unbelievable because you don't have the experience or the knowledge to really be passing it on to anyone else. So when you're asking people for support, you want to be able to be excited about it, because you know that the messaging that you with is truthful and replicable. You want to be able to replicate what you say and what you do. And so, like for her, in the case of the book author, I was excited to work with her because she's a mother of four boys. I think she got some tips on on being a parent. So her being able to talk to people about dealing with these kids. She doesn't have to come at it like she's a psychologist or anybody like that. She's just a mom who's had experience raising four boys. And that gives her amount of credibility for her to be able to ask people for their support of her because of it, because she is someone who's done it. She's in an arena where she can, give information, and the information can be seen as coming from a credible source because of her background. So that's how you have to look at marketing. It's not just about saying, I got the best clothes on, and I have the best sayings that I've done for somebody else. No, you're building a foundation for your product. You're building a relationship with people who don't know you in that second core, but they know that subject matter. And then you're going to then go and have to get to people that third core, which is even harder. That's the core where you're going to have to get to people who don't know you, and they're not really interested and don't know the subject. So those people are even harder for you to build a relationship with, because again, there isn't a way for you to directly connect with them. And so when you're thinking about, okay, how do I reach them? So I'll give you an example of this. Say, for instance, a wife, you have a book that is about football. Okay. So of course you say, okay, I want to reach men. That's probably that's your second core. Of course, your first core is always going to be those people that know you, colleagues, friends, everything. Your second core with your football book would be people who are interested in the subject. Guys, men, women, whoever who like football, whether they teach it, they enjoy watching it, or whatever. That third core are people who don't even care about football, but they might know somebody who does. So your third core may be those people who maybe it's a wife who want to buy a special gift for her husband. She's part of your third core because she care about football as an activity for herself, even to watch it or anything like that. But her husband watches, or her son plays, or her godson is on a team or whatever. So she would be the one that you would approach. And you're going to do it with caution because she understands that you're trying to get her business and you're going to tell her why. So, how do you do that in a commercial? You just be honest. And you say to her, plus, I always like questions. Questions are great because they allow the people to pull people into conversation. So a question could be, have you ever wanted to buy a gift for that, your favorite sportsman, or looking for the perfect gift for the guy who loves football, the gal who loves football, that sort of thing. And just be honest, ask those questions, approach them in a way um, that feels genuine. And 9 times out of 10, they'll probably buy that book because they know that the person that they're buying it for is going to be appreciated. That may not matter to them, but the person that they're buying it for is going to appreciate it. So that's what I mean. That third core is so important because once you get those people in your pocket, that is the limit. Now, we know in social media you can get to that third core of people by word of mouth pretty quickly because everything is moving so fast. But there are sometimes when you got to ask people over and over again. And what's great about social media is that you can ask them over and over again because every time they open up one of those platforms, guess what? They're seeing you ask for your support through ads, through whatever means in that social media. They're asking you over and over again. So you have to be prepared to do that. Because if you do, then, you have a better chance of winning them over. You know, just doing it one time. When I first started in advertising, we had we would go to a board to do ad buys, and you this board, it was of course a software, but you would go in and you would go city by city, and you would find a different news publications and that sort
Incoming
of
phone
thing.
call.
You would do find different publications, and those publications you would decide if they meet their demographics, meet the demographics that you're trying to reach, and then you would place an ad based on that. And so we had to make sure that when we were doing that, whatever client we were doing it for, like for instance, my company was a financial from the financial management company, we had to make sure that we understood who our end result was and what industry they were in, because when we picked those different news magazines or platforms, we had to make sure that we were going and we were making the decision that was informed. Because when you pay for an ad in Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg Times or any of those places, you're talking about some nice money. Even just mainstream magazines, especially if they have a readership of millions, they are over 60 pages, and 60% of they have 60 advertisement. That means those people have a big readership. And so in order for you to go and pay the money that they're asking for, you got to make sure, hello, your one bullet makes sense. And so with social media, we don't have to be as in figuring out where that one bullet is going, because you have lots more platforms. And like I said, you can make it go over and over again. So exploring new ways to tell people about yourself is really, really important. But first, know your industry. Like with books, I've been publishing, this is the 12th book that I've published. I have 2 imprints. So I think I know a little bit about publishing. So when we put the book together, we talked about how we reached those different cores. We talked about making sure that if she was a part of any kind of round table or anything, that she came at it not as some professional, but just a mom who had some great ideas that she thought worked and that she could share with others. So know your industry, be able to think about different ways to talk about yourself within that industry, and then continue to build your foundation, because you've ramped up from mom and them, you've taken all those different things and changed from what they had to say. Then you went to your second core, you changed from there. Oh, well, we'd like to know more about this and this. This is also a reason why in her book, when she had written it, we added a resource factor. Again, that lends credibility, but it also gives us an access to that core who might not know us, but know her, but know the subject matter. And then third, when we got to the third group of people, we decided, okay, we're going to hit the doctor's offices and things like that, which could be second or third tier, because it may not be a specific doctor, it may not be a pediatrician as an internist or any other one. So know your industry, build on that, and then cultivate your digital swagger. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to do the social media stuff. Oh my God, it's so much trouble. It's a lot. It's a lot." It really is. And it does take time, just like it was when we were in an advertising agency and we had to get to know thousands of publications. That's 50 states, publications from around the world. We had to know all of them. We had to know codes to be able to know how to run. Are we running an ad for 3 weeks or 13 weeks or whatever? It is a lot. And I would say, find someone who you can bring in on your team who doesn't mind the tediousness of finding ways to build it. Um, a lot of these platforms opportunity to put your ads in there. They also give you the opportunity to pinpoint who you want to talk to, who your demographic is, who that main one bullet is in the beginning, because you want to make sure it makes sense with your budget. But hone in and cultivate what that is. And I would say if you're a small business, any kind of entrepreneur, first learn the stuff for yourself. You don't have to be, proficient in it, but set up your Facebook. Go in there and know how to post things. Go in there and know how to, integrate those things across platforms. Don't be afraid to, as you're ramping up, because that third core, you might need to look at other ways, like it said, look at other ways of branding yourself. So, doing events, partnering with other people, doing ads, um, which are visual. People are very stimulated by visual, even on the social media. But there are also a lot of networks like Comcast and those who offer small business advertising as well. So you could have an opportunity to put your ads in front on TV as well. So you have to, just be strategic, but know as much as you can about your own stuff. Get to know the platforms, get to know your industry. And as you continue to ramp up, then you bring people in who have the information and advice that they can share with you, because otherwise you're always going to feel like you're not knowing enough. And even if it feels overwhelming, once you get involved, you'll see, like for me, my interns are always fussing at me because we have different, sites and stuff, and I'll go out on Instagram and stuff, and I use it for entertainment, for business, whatever, and I'm just liking stuff, and they're like, "Will you please get on the right platform in the right name and then like stuff?" So yeah, it can be fun, it can be challenging, but know your industry, know who you're trying to talk to in the beginning. You can't reach everybody with one message. So you start out with your first core, you engage them, you talk to them, you create a cheering, you say thank you to them, and then you move on to the second core. That second core, you take your time with building how you want to talk to them. You be honest about what you have to say to them, and don't be afraid to know that you got to say it more than once. And then when you get the third core, go ahead, feel, understand what you're trying to accomplish in getting with them. So honest about your product, and tell your story too. Because a lot of people tell you don't be afraid of your story. That's great. I use stories all the time, especially as people are segmenting themselves and that sort of thing, because like right now, a lot of people talk about Black women own businesses and Black people lives matter. All those kind of things can also be a part of your story, yes. um, but I am from the school of building a foundation that is solid, that is based on things that you can replicate. You can be honest. It can also translate across different platforms. Doesn't matter how old you are, what color you are, what race, gender. It doesn't matter. It's always available to you if you do it the right way. So that's what I have to say about marketing, and engaging your who your market is. And so if there are any questions, Harmony. Oh, there are a couple of questions. Ooh, let me do let's see here. So about how much time is good to spend keeping up with my social media. So I would say, when you're thinking about social media, definitely you need to go ahead, and make sure that you know everything about your social media first and then hand it off. But I would say schedule time to work on your social media at least once a day. You know, an hour a day, um, once a day, hour. You know, so that you're kept up, uh, involved in what's going on with your social media and that sort of thing. So yeah, thank you guys. I'm sorry I was yakking, but thanks for coming, to talk to me and
Make sure y'all reach out to Gwendolyn Jackson. She has all of her information on the screen. She has her website. She has her phone number. You guys make sure that you reach out to her. An amazing job to Gwendolyn Jackson. I did not get a chance to introduce you because I had some technical difficulties, but I just want to say thank you. You did an amazing job. And make sure that you go and network with everybody after your speech.
thank you so much, Harmony. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the support.
Welcome.